My dear Dickinsonians, do you want to know Emily Dickinson's poem "This Is My Letter to the World" hummed to me? If so, stay tuned. Normally, to create a tune out of a poem, you just need to listen to it very carefully.
This is my letter.
Particularly this one told me a very beautiful story about the desire for communication and connection with others. And so it was full of sweetness and tenderness. In fact, the words sweet and tender are mentioned in the poem. And so I remembered a former improvisation which seemed to match quite a lot to what the poem was telling me, and which sounded like this. The chord progression sounded right to me. And the soft melody suited the poem quite well. But it was a bit plain, so I developed it into this. And this melody then became the instrumental part of the song, which you already know. And if you don't, just click on the link and listen to the whole tune. Well, I already had the part sorted out, but I still had to find out the hidden melody that the poem was trying to hum for me. And then I realized that I must be deaf, definitely, because it took me quite a long while to unravel it. For the first thing I heard was this. This is my letter to the world that never wrote to me. No, I don't know, it sounded to me like a song by the Beatles. And it's not that I don't like the Beatles, it's just that I didn't want to sound like them. So I kept on listening and trying, and then I heard this. This is my letter to the world that never wrote to me. No, it sounded far too sweet. Sweet enough to give you diabetes. And of course I was looking for something sweet, but I think that this one was too much. So I kept on listening and trying, and listening and trying, until finally my hearing sense came back to me. And at last I heard it. I heard the tune, the one and only, the one you already know, and which sounds like this. This is my letter to the world that never wrote to me. But the poem keeps on talking about nature, and so the melody keeps on being sweet. The simple news that nature told with tender majesty. And because the word majesty is a big and powerful concept, the voice there opens a bit to make the word sound a bit more powerful and a bit bigger. And what about the next two verses? Her message is committed to hands I cannot see, as I commented on the previous video. And if you haven't watched it either, just click on the link and listen to the whole comment on the poem. I told you that this part sounded to me quite bitter and painful and sad, for she's sending her message to people she will never meet, and that was not the point. And so the chord progression and the melody changed their character to express that bitterness and sadness like this. A message is committed to hands I cannot see. Well, and the poem finally ends up with Emily pleading with her countrymen a merciful view of her. But what happens when we are pleading? That we become vulnerable and humble. And so, to express that vulnerable state, the melody here needs to be even sweeter and softer than it's been so far, like this. For love of her, sweet countrymen, judge tenderly of me. But apart from the chords and the tune, there are other elements in the song which provide certain musical nuances to the poem, such as a music box, a choir, a typewriter, a Morse code. But let's go by parts. The music box, for example. I was looking for a light, suspended-like sound which could express the weightlessness of the words contained in Emily's sweet message, and at the same time to express the lightness of the paper plane that you saw in the video, carrying those words. Also, the choirs in the instrumental part symbolize, through the air of the voice, the flight and the ups and downs that the paper plane must have undergone during its long, long journey. And what about the typewriter and the Morse code? Well, as the poem is a letter, I was thinking about all the ways of sending a letter. And then I thought of including the typewriter and the Morse code because I realized they worked really well as percussion elements for the song, like this. You want to know a secret? The Morse code is literally sending the verse, "This is my letter to the world." Or at least that's what was intended. Hope it is correct. And regarding the story shown on the video, well, I wanted to create the perception of the passage of time to make Emily's letter reach different places and different ages. So the idea of a paper plane came to my mind as a metaphor of this amazing journey that Emily's words undertook back in the middle of the 19th century. But how the heck to make the paper plane travel through time and space when you're just an ordinary person with an ordinary budget who cannot afford a Hollywood production with proper settings and costumes and proper scenes? And so in the end, it was the typewriter and the Morse code which gave me the idea of using the different means of written communication since Emily's time to create this illusion. So we have the Morse code used at the beginning of the 20th century, a fountain pen used in the 30s, a typewriter used in the 60s, and a mobile phone from the 90s. And so, in this way, I could create more simple scenes with far less details than the former idea that I had, in which I wanted to make the paper plane pass from hand to hand. And well, this is it. This is everything Emily's poem told me, and so I hope you liked the musical and visual transcription of it. Thanks so much for watching. Having you there means a lot to me. I shall see you soon with more Emily and more music. Take care and stay tuned.